Hi people, it's Tamibia Oladawe here. This is your brief overview of retrogrades in general, and I'm going to do a hint on this current retrograde season. Currently we are in the shadow phase of Mercury retrograde. That's the one we kind of focus on more here on Earth, simply because it's closer to us. So the moon regulates the tides, because that is the closest planetary body to us, similar to Mercury and Venus. Wow. So we need to focus on Venus more, is what I'm hearing, because Venus is closer to Earth than Mercury is. So yeah, so when Venus retrograde comes around here in a couple months, expect to hear from me. And Mercury retrograde is one where we see the most effects, I think, because it's more external. Mercury rules things that are external versus Venus, which is a lot of internal things. So Venus is dealing with kind of love, partnerships, so it's going to be interpersonal. It's nothing tangible. Mercury rules things that are tangible, so you can actually see the effect. Like, okay, my car stopped working, my phone blew up, my flight got delayed. Things that are actually tangible. So when you're wanting to know what to expect from a retrograde period, the first thing you have to understand is that no planets are actually moving backwards in the sky. They only look to be that way from Earth's perspective because the planets revolve around the sun and they don't revolve around Earth. If everything revolved around Earth, everything would be going forward the whole time. Because the planets revolve around the sun, there are time periods where it appears as if they're moving backwards. So that's the number one most important thing to remember during any retrograde season. Nothing is moving backwards. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is screwed up. It's literally your humanly, earthly perspective. So if you want to understand things, you have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture from the eyes of the universe or God or your creation, whatever you want to call it, okay? So understand the perspective. Now, to kind of understand how to work through retrogrades, I'm going to use this particular one as a key. So I said before, we are in the shadow phase. The shadow phase means that we are passing over the degrees that Mercury will then retrace later when it goes retrograde, okay? So the station of retrograde starts on February 16th. It's going to be at 28 degrees and 12 minutes in Aquarius, all right? No, that's not right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then Mercury will travel through Aquarius all the way to 12 degrees and 53 minutes in Pisces. That's during the shadow phase. So starting February 2nd, which is a couple days ago, starting February 2nd, Mercury would have been 28 degrees and 12 minutes. So if you go to check an ephemeris, if you go check where's Mercury right now, it's going to be past 28 degrees in Aquarius, okay? And then by the 16th, Mercury will have gotten to 12 degrees and 53 minutes in Pisces. And then when it goes backwards, it's going to come all the way back to 28 degrees. So this is the retrograde part. We're going backwards. Normally we go from Pisces to Aries, but now we're going from Pisces to Aquarius. It's moving backwards on the wheel. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then when we get to 28 degrees in Aquarius, it's going to be what we call a station direct. This is when everything appears to be normal again. So from Earth's perspective, from the universe's perspective, everything is moving forwards again. However, we're back in Aquarius. So now we already went from 28 degrees Aquarius to 12 degrees Pisces. Now we have to do it again. This is why if you see on my Twitter page, I posted that it's 3 times. You go over the same thing 3 times. The first time is like, and this is if you've ever taken any type of speech or public speaking class, they tell you this. Even if you're writing a paper or an essay, they say to kind of give a brief introduction of what you're going to go over. Then you go over the information and then you give a conclusion and you tell them what they're supposed to have learned. That's what Mercury does. All the planets do. That's what retrograde is. The pre-shadow phase is kind of like, this is what we're about to go over. This is what I'm about to switch up in your life. This is what I'm about to, crumble up into pieces and wither away and, snatch out from underneath your feet and make you understand that you really don't need it. This is what we're dealing with. The pre-shadow phase from February 2nd to February 16th. Just pay close attention. You don't have to do anything. You might want to journal, take notes to see, I'm noticing things. What's jumping out at you specifically for those houses? So if you look at 28 degrees Aquarius to 12 degrees Pisces, what houses are you encompassing? And it's normal to cover more than one house. It's normal to cover 2 houses. Cafe Astrology has a really good blurb on there where it's kind of like, okay, if you're going from this house to this house, what can you expect? What themes? Of course, you can book me for a reading. That's always an option. And now, after you go through the first time, where it's just like a preview, like, this is what we're going to go over. Then when Mercury goes retrograde, it's like a divine intervention. Like, no, this is really how things should be. This is really how you should be thinking. The problem is, we are not in our spiritual form. We're still on earth dealing with people. This is why they say don't make contracts and don't agree to things, don't start new things, because you're dealing with people who are not thinking straight. You're dealing with people who have various levels of maturity, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of these things. So where somebody might be freaking out, where somebody's brain might not be working, then they might be agreeing to something that they cannot hold up. Or they might be, hiding something, or whatever the case may be. When dealing with humans, you don't really want to do those kinds of things. This is why during Mercury retrograde, it's a time of just to take notes, to learn, to speak to your creator, speak to source. And you're really just learning, taking in different information, getting new ideas, getting new pathways, getting new options. But you're not acting on it yet. This isn't your test yet. You're going through the lesson. So we got the introduction. We're in the introductory phase right now, in the pre-shadow phase. Then when Mercury stations retrograde, that is your lesson. That's where the teacher is up at the chalkboard. She's writing example problems, giving you different models. You're just learning. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just learn. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to take anything under your own hands. Just act normal. Everything is good. God has everything under control, all right? And then when Mercury stations direct, this is on March 9th, when Mercury stations direct, right before spring break, 12 degrees Pisces, this is when you will be tested. Your teacher spent, 2-3 weeks teaching you a lesson. Did you learn it? Imagine if you spent 3 weeks teaching somebody one lesson, maybe 2 or 3 lessons, and then they didn't learn anything from it. They're still acting the same way they did before. Wouldn't you be upset? And even more than that, that's a low vibrational way of thinking. This is your opportunity to show the universe that you have mastered the lesson and now you're ready for the next level. Now you're ready to achieve the blessings, because the test can go both ways. It's never going to go to punishment, which you may feel like it's punishment simply because you're not where you desire to be. It's not a punishment. It's just a postponement. So really all it is, am I going to get this lesson again because I didn't learn it the first time or the third time, whichever time this is, no judgment? Or am I going to prove that I've learned this lesson so I can move on to the next stage? This is where you're going to see the benefit. You're going to see the reward for having mastered that lesson. And then you're going to be faced with another challenge. It's the great thing about life. So yeah, here's what I'm about to tell you. I'm telling you. Here's what I told you. Did you listen? That's what you're going to expect. Okay. So then that's the brief overview of a retrograde. It's going to be the same for Mercury, Pluto, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter. Any of the planets is going to be a pre-shadow phase beforehand where you're covering the degrees that will be covered again when it's moving backwards. And then there's going to be the actual retrograde phase. That's where if you look in the sky, it looks like the planet is moving in the opposite direction from normal. And then there's a post-shadow phase. That is your test period. That is what in the hell did you learn? And then once you have that overview down, Then you can get to the nitty-gritty. This is not for beginners. If you're a beginner, just journal, watch, observe. If you've been in this, this is for you. This is like intermediate to advanced level. So this is where I keep saying 28 degrees, 12 degrees. This is where you look at your chart. If you actually see those degrees, and the 12 is 12 degrees in 53 minutes. So you probably would want to look at 13 degrees for more exact. 28 degrees Aquarius. Really, if you see 28 degrees on your chart or 13 degrees on your chart, I guess 12.5, 12 or 13, this is going to hit home. So if you see like a 12 degrees at your Mars is going to have a really big influence on how this Mercury retrograde is going to go for you. It might be a big hit to your sex life. It might be a big hit to your instincts, your home, fighting wars, arguments. You know, think like Aries energy. Dealing with self-confidence. Like, those are the kinds of things that would come up if your Mars is aspecting that closely, like to where you see a 12 degrees or a 13 degrees. So that's the first thing. The next thing is, are there oppositions? So Mercury is going to start at 28 degrees Aquarius. Is there anything what's 28 minus like 23? No, that's too far. 5 degrees. So 2.5 back and then 2.5 forwards. So that would be 25.5. 25.5 to 30. It's like 25 to 30 degrees Aquarius. And then it would be about 10 to 16 degrees Pisces. Anything in those ranges is going to have an opposition at some point during this retrograde phase. Those are what you want to look for, because they're going to be a big pull, which seems like things are not working how you want them to work, but it's only because they're fighting against each other rather than working together. Picture if you have a car, for instance. You have your gas and you have your brake. They go in opposite directions, but they're both for the same thing. They both are on the axles. They both deal with the wheels. Now, if you press both of them at the same time, that sounds like a disaster. You don't want to press the gas and the brake at the same time. However, if you coordinate, then when I want to speed up, I press the gas. When I want to slow down, I press the brake and I let off the gas. That is how you achieve success. This is how oppositions work. When you want to succeed out in the universe, out in the world, you tap into Capricorn. When you want to thrive at home, you tap into Cancer. These are how the oppositions work. When I want to thrive and be independent, self-sufficient, I'm going to tap into Aries. When I want to thrive in my interpersonal relationships, I tap into Libra. We're working on the same thing, and you can either fight against each other, like, why do you always want to be around somebody? Why do you always want to be by yourself? You know, they could go against each other because they're not the same. They're opposite. One is by myself. One is with others. However, they both serve their purpose, and you have to understand that. So when oppositions, look for that. Conjunctions are another big thing. That means that you have another planet in those degrees. Between 28 degrees Aquarius and 13 degrees Pisces. You have another planet there. That means those energies are intertwining. They're all intertwining, and it's going to be hard to differentiate between them. And you can look up these aspects. I'm not going to go through all of these. You can look for trines, sextiles, anything, squares, anything. So you look to aspects, and they can be an aspect for any span through that retrograding phase. Even through the shadow phase might. Well, okay, never mind. Forget I said that. And yes, and then you can hone in on whatever days you might experience those aspects. Since it's a long period of time, it's not going to be every day, but you can notice and look out for those days. Then the next thing to look for is, what house is it in? And I think I might have already said that. Am I dealing with my third house? Because now I have Mercury retrograde. Now I have Mercury retrograding in my third house, so it's like double Mercury. Okay, so you want to really pay attention to what house I'm in, because that's going to be what area of your life these energies are showing up in. So all this kind of confused, conflicting, thwarted, inverted energy is going to be in your third house. So it might affect your siblings and your relationship with your siblings. It might affect plans you have with your siblings. It might affect, commuting to work. That's like a short-term travel. Like, that's where you can expect that to happen. And then the next thing is, once you're dealing with what houses is it covering. Yeah, I did, because Cafe Astrology has good information on those houses and what that means for you. You want to look at the house ruler. So if I don't want to do third house. Let's say fifth house. Okay. So if 28 degrees Aquarius is in my fifth house, then I look to see what sign rules my fifth house. Let's say my fifth house is ruled by Scorpio. Okay. So if my fifth house is ruled by Scorpio, now I'm looking to see who is Scorpio's ruler. Scorpio's ruler is either going to be Mars or Pluto. I'm going to stick with Pluto, okay? So I'm looking for, where is Pluto? Pluto might be in my... Oh, I don't want to go too far. Let me think. Pluto might be in my third house. So then I'm going to be like, okay, so my third house is ruled by who? This isn't going to match up. But I'm going to say my third house is ruled by... My third house is ruled by Libra. Okay? Libra is ruled by Venus. My Venus is in my fifth house. No. So I would say my third house is ruled by... I'm trying to end this without going in a long circle. It might be a long circle. It might be a long circle. So I'm going to say my third house is ruled... Okay, we'll just go with that. So my third house is ruled by Libra. Libra's ruler is Venus. Venus is in my... Venus is in my 8th house. All right, so Venus is in my 8th house. My 8th house is ruled by... My 8th house is ruled by Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in my 8th house. So then I'm going to stop here. So the ruling energies, they all transmute and they end up here in the 8th house. So you have a lot of energy directed in that area. And this is a little confusing, but I'm hinting on this for those who might be ready for it. That's why I said this is not beginner. It's not beginner level. Okay. And I said I was going to make this video. I might do another one focused on that. This is a brief overview of Mercury retrograde. So that's following the planetary ruler. And then whenever you end up in that double where, okay, so the rule of my house is here and this house is ruled by that ruler, that's where you stop. So there's that. And then the next thing to look at, which might be one of the first things you look at, are what planets... I already said conjunctions. Yes, okay. So Aquarius and Pisces are the signs that the retrograde is encompassing. So I'm going to look to see where Uranus and Neptune are in my chart, because that's kind of where it's ruling. So if you think of a ruler, we call them rulers for a reason. That means that whatever Pisces wants to do, Pisces has to go through Neptune. So if Neptune is in my 5th house, then all the retrograding energy has to go through Neptune. So my retrograde energy has to go through my 5th house. This is why astrology is so complex, because you have so many different pieces. And the more you see something, the more you see it in the chart, the more you see it in your aspects. That's how you know this is something that's important. So this is my overview. I can speak, I promise. I'm tired. It's time for me to go to bed. The last thing I wanted to speak on. This is something new. I haven't really seen this in my readings, and it's just me, so you can leave comments if you like about how you feel about this. But I started to pay attention to where the moon is when certain transitions happen. So when the sun transitions to another sign, where is the moon? And lately, for the past 3 seasons, the moon has been in a favorable aspect. So meaning that when the sun moved into Aquarius this time, I believe the moon was in Sagittarius. Aquarius and Sagittarius are sextile, which is a favorable energy. So right now, when Mercury stations retrograde, the moon will be in Sagittarius. So there's going to be a Sagittarius energy initiating this retrograde period. So it might be a little impulsive because now you're mixing Gemini with Sagittarius. And I say Gemini because Mercury rules Gemini. So it's going to be that Gemini kind of energy, Mercurian Gemini energy mixed in with Sagittarius. So it's going to be a wild one. And then we move to Pisces. Look. And then Mercury stations direct when the moon is in Virgo. So this is kind of a nice ease back into things. Virgo is going to get everything chopped up in order, organized, filed away. So really tap into the energies of these moons. And notice the Sagittarius is not just about chaos. I mean, that's the most obvious thing to notice. Sagittarius is about love, universal love, unconditional love, love for all humanity, love for strangers, love for acquaintances. This is how they get their reputation. They love hard. And it's about spreading that love to all. So this retrograde is going to have a lot of philosophical implications. It's going to have a wide reach. And the things you're learning might not just be for you. It might be for you to speak on it. It might not even be a lesson that you need to learn personally. It could be a lesson, and now I'm talking to myself. It could be a lesson that somebody you haven't even met yet is going to need. So just really take notes, pay attention, be unselfish in your ways, take the hints of Sagittarius, really tap into that energy, and you're really going to be successful. And then when we're coming back direct, you really have Virgos helping hand. Virgos love to help. They love to assist. So you can really count on that. And you can just be excitement. Like, we don't need the fear. We don't need the stress. Like, Mercury retrograde is nothing to be afraid of. It's literally just a period of time. And I'll be posting it on my Twitter page sometime. I might post it on Instagram if it allows me. But for those of us, this is a note. If you have natal Mercury retrograde, probably this whole video is irrelevant to you. This is going to be what you need to do for the times where Mercury is direct. Anyways, so for those of us who are not natal Mercury retrograde, and you might have a large Mercurian impact in your chart, like my moon is in Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So my brain tends to fog up and it gets fuzzy and it's really hard for me to focus. And you know, life goes on. These businesses don't care. These jobs don't care about Mercury being in retrograde. Maybe one day it'll change, but even still, like, you know, even if I had a business, it's just like life goes on. You can't shut down your whole life for 3 weeks. So in order to function, in order to still thrive, somehow looking at static helps. And I'll show you what I mean eventually. I'm not going to do it right now. I've done enough today. But yeah, so be looking out for that. So overview, to summarize, because I said a lot. Retrograding periods give you 3 chances to kind of learn something new. The first one is an introduction, like pay attention. This is your warm-up. The second one, this is your actual lesson. This is your teacher standing at the front of the classroom. And then the third one is like, this is your test. What did you learn? Please don't make me go through this again. All right. And then the second thing to really remember, retrograding periods are not a time to panic. They are a time to learn and see things with a new perspective. All right. The third thing to note is to pay attention to houses, aspects, and degrees. Okay. That's as specific as I can get without looking at your specific chart. This is where things get really, really personalized because nobody's chart is the same. Look out for Pluto going retrograde. It will be something that has very, very long-lasting effects. This one spans only 3 degrees over months. I believe Pluto goes back direct January of next year. It hasn't gone retrograde. We're still in the shadow phase for Pluto. However, just knowing that Pluto goes direct next year. We just started this year. So that shows you how long it's taking to go 3 degrees. So whatever you have in those degrees, it's like 22 degrees to 25 degrees, is going to have a lot of heavy Pluto energy. So yeah, be prepared for that. So maybe you're all checking out. Peace out.